What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at Frieren. Obviously, I know there's a lot of people who really enjoy the series. I'm catching up on it myself. And in addition to that, there's several other YouTubers who have come up with some really awesome deck profiles for the Frieren set. Clock Tower and Tressus Collectibles have both posted their own decks, but I kind of wanted to toss my hat into the ring a little bit. And obviously, with me, I like to kind of focus on budget decks. And what's more budget than 8 Standby, right? But no, for real. 8 Standby is always something I love to mess with. I know everyone's seen it a ton on the channel. And after messing around looking through Frieren, I did notice, and watching the anime as well, that it was really fun to go through some of the cards focused around Stark. And it also kind of gave me this this energy of, I mean, he's a warrior in the anime, so it kind of made me think, with the axe and everything, made me think of warriors from Final Fantasy XIV, for anybody who's ever, played MMO like Final Fantasy XIV or whatever. It's very a monkey mode mindset in terms of how, tanking and whatnot. So I figured the best way to introduce this video in particular was going to be asking someone who knows a bit more about Final Fantasy. So here is a quick little message from Larry Czar, a very wonderful YouTuber, makes a lot of Final Fantasy XIV content. And I figured he would be the best way to find out how to be a warrior.
Hey, psst, psst, hit this button.
That's fun.
Oh, here we go again.
Thank you very much for that, Larry. It's a wonderful way to start off the video. But yeah, let's get right into it. So it is 8 Standby, and there are some really fun Standby combos, honestly, in this deck, both of which the level 2 and the level 3 combos are able to stand themselves and do some other shenanigans as well. So it's just lots of fun, lots of monkey mode. Let's just get right into this. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of support. We got Clumsy Birthday Fern. It's a 3/2, 3,500. All of your characters in front of her gain 2,000 power. And when she's placed on stage from your hand, you can heal the top card of your clock into your waiting room. Now, this right now is going to be the only way you're really going to be able to heal. There are some other really good cards that I wanted to include, more so as off finishers. But those cards at the time that I was putting this deck together were pretty expensive. It's come down in price. There's a specific level 3 Himmel and Frieren that I wanted to include because it had a neat little off finisher ability, as well as it could also heal on play and early play itself and all that jazz. But I figured keep to the budget mindset and instead went with trying to focus on her last ability. It's an act ability to try to do a little bit extra burn damage. It is an act to pay 3 and put a birthday present, which is a particular event we'll talk about in a little bit here, from your hand face up underneath her as a marker, and then rest her. If you do, you get to do 2 damage to your opponent. And so a little bit extra way of pushing damage, but like I said, 8 Standby being monkey mode, you're going to be pushing some damage anyway. The most expensive card of the deck as well, Clumsy Birthday Stark. It's down to about $2 now, so this is like the most that you had to spend on the deck. Is a 3/2, 10,500. He's a little bit bigger, but this is a really fun card. At the beginning of your attack phase, you may pay the cost, which is sacking the Standby, so you can summon him off of the Standby, and then you can discard a card, sack the Standby to stand him. Very similar to the level 2 also does something similar, but Nino and Ruby both have combos that do this as well, to be able to stand the cards that you're supposed to summon with those particular standbys. But if you do, you also get to summon a Clumsy Birthday Fern, even though it doesn't say up here, but it is Clumsy Birthday Fern specifically, from your waiting room and put it on any position of your stage. So you get to basically summon, 2 off of the Standby, quote unquote. You're summoning both this Stark and then the Fern, and then with Fern in the back row, she's going to give an extra 2k to the Stark. you're typically going to want to summon him to the middle center or have him in middle center when you do this effect. You get to pick one of two effects afterwards. This is continuing the climax combo. Choose one of the following effects and perform it. Either give this character great performance until the end of your opponent's next turn, or choose up to one card in your waiting room and put it into your stock. Now, sometimes you might do the extra stock, but more often than not, you are just going to give him great performance and rock with it. Great performance forces your opponent to, because it's a keyword that not a lot of people understand. If this particular Stark is in the middle center with great performance, it forces all of your opponent's characters to frontal this Stark. So he's going to be at a 12-5, and as long as he remains not reversed, they have to keep frontaling him. So there's another really fun card coming up here, the other level 2, we will talk about in just a moment, that basically prevents that from ever happening, and your opponent just loses their entire field. So more than likely will lose their entire field, but they definitely are going to have to contend with this. We're going to quickly mention the Corrupt Priest Hater, though. It's a 2500 backup. This is your anti-change backup for the deck. When you use the backup, pay 1, pitch 1, choose one of your opponent's characters with a level higher than their level, put it into their stock. Now, this does not make your opponent pay out their stock like the reversers do, so you are giving them a stock. I'm just going ahead and stating that now, but it's the only anti-change backup in the set that was any good, in my opinion. That's just me. But this particular level 2 Warrior Stark, if all of your characters are adventure or magic, this gets 500 power and the following ability. You can sack him when one of your other characters gets frontal attacked, keyword there. And if you do, choose one of your characters in battle. That character cannot become reversed. So basically, if you have a copy of this on field, when you get the great performance to go off with the level 3 Stark, you can sack him on the very first attack to make it so this Stark will not become reversed. This doesn't count as like a backup or any one of those abilities that, say if your opponent had something that's like, oh, your opponent can't activate backups or events on when this character battles or whatever. It doesn't matter. This isn't one of those. You can still sack him for that ability to keep your level 3 from getting reversed. So that's actually really cool. It has a climax combo as well with Master's Teachings. At the beginning of your attack phase, you can sacrifice Master's Teachings to stand him, basically. So very much, like I say, like the standing combos from like the Nino quintuplets deck and Ruby. I realize I never stated the name of the level 3 Starks thing. The standby for it is called Privilege of the Young. So I figured I'd go ahead and show off both of these really quick as my phone buzzes. So this is Privilege of the Young for the level 3, and this is Master's Teachings for the level 2. So, didn't state that before, my bad. Now, you're going to notice that this deck does not have that many level 3s. Like I said, I wanted to put in the other Fern and Himmel, but because we're going more budget with this, I went instead to include more copies of Pouting Fern, even though we already have this particular level 2 for the climax combo and everything. She's basically going to be making up having another level 3 character to kind of push for damage, even though obviously she's level 2. She is a 2/6K. She gets 1,000 power for each of your other adventure or magic characters. So with a full field, she's a 10K. But also, if you're able to summon her level 3 version onto the field, she's going to be sitting like a 12 as well. So she's going to be really big. But obviously, you're trying to just draw the attacks with great performance and then just push for like a whole bunch of damage to, by direct attacking and whatnot. She also has a character encore. She's a typical, just like one of the typical standby targets for level 2. But I figured just include more copies of her to have like beat sticks, especially because even with the level 2 combo, the Warrior Stark is fairly weak. Like it's only an 8K, whereas a lot of the ones that have the whole standing effects typically get bigger. So she has both like the power and whatnot, where he's more of the neat little techs and being able to just bring stuff out and keep stuff from getting reversed. In fact, he can sack himself to keep her from getting reversed or whatever, So, then we have one copy of Long-Lived Friend Frieren. It's a 3K backup, and it's the memory kick of the deck. When you use this card's backup, the character in battle makes it so when their battle opponent becomes reversed, you put that character into the opponent's memory. So, Do be very careful if you have to use this with the level 3 Stark, because then your opponent could get 3 characters sent to memory, which is going to compress them. So do be careful of that, but I had to include it. Like, really and truly, I had to. Alright, continuing on to the level 1s. 4 copies of type that's the hardest to deal with. Stark, your typical standby level 1 target, basically ends up becoming a 1/1/7/5 with character encore. Very standard, but very necessary. A priest job, Sane. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Sane. It's a 1/1. It's a 2k backup. When you use this card's backup, if you have 3 or more adventure or magic characters, choose one of the following effects and perform it. If it involves the event birthday present, you either pick one from waiting room and put it to memory, or take one from the deck and put it to memory. So when the card's in memory, when the event's in memory, it has an effect to be able to get back to your hand when you level up. So that's why it's kind of trying to set up for that. But this is just a very good card in general. Also, you want to be able to use its effect to get back to your hand so you can use it for the burns for the Fern. So next we have the Brainstormer of the deck going into the level 0s. There was another level 0 that I wanted to include instead of this one. It was the level 0 Fern. I'll show on screen right now. But it did not work out because the Fern was also kind of expensive. Ended up, I think it's already up to like $6 or $7 at the time of recording this. If I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry. So instead we went with one of the cheaper costing Brainstormers. But a lot of the other Brainstormers either relied on specific climaxes or just didn't really have that good of an effect. So Method here was the only one that I could really use. So it's a 0/0/1k. Your other level 0 or lower characters in the middle position get an extra 1k. But the main thing you're obviously using for is the Brainstorm. Pay 1, tap 2. It is mill 5, so you mill a little bit extra, potentially setting up for standby stuff. But if you reveal any climaxes, search your deck for an adventure or magic character at hand. So definitely want to have this, but like I said, the other double rare Fern Brainstormer is way better because it's just a tap self basically for like the same effect, but it's only mill 4. But this is the budget option, so here we go. Everything else in here is like so cheap. Like I said, all these cards are very, very cheap except for, like I said, the level 3 Stark, but hey, it's all good. All right. Magic to See-Through Clothing Fern is a 0/0/500. This is actually a very, very fun card. It has interesting abilities, and the second one's the main one that's very, very useful for a standby deck in general. But it does have another interesting thing that may come up. The first effect it has is when this is placed on stage from hand, choose one of your opponent's stage positions. Put all markers in the marker area corresponding to that position into their waiting room. Which basically reads, if your opponent has markers, whatever markers are in that spot all go to the waiting room. Basically think if you've ever seen anybody do the Gurren Lagann combine thing and put markers under, or tried to make like the Miku deck from Quintuplets that works with markers, you can just basically use this for free, like no other cost, but you just get rid of their markers. I believe Overlord also has a thing with markers. If I'm not mistaken, I think it did. I think it had a thing to do with markers. It's just been forever since I've looked at that. But the second effect is very, very powerful. When this is placed on stage from your hand or put into your waiting room from the stage, so on play or on death, you get to pay the cost. Pay 1, discard an adventure or magic character from hand. If you do, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. Choose 1 card amongst them, put into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. So this is very good to, one, you can also just grab any card from this. So you can grab the events, you can grab the standbys, like whatever you really need. You end up sending more cards to the waiting room to kind of set up as well for your standby plays. But also, this is one of those cards you can just kind of sit in the back row. And if you trigger a standby, you summon over top of this, because then she would go from stage to waiting room. It triggers her effect. You can pay out that standby immediately. Maybe dig a little deeper, set up your hand, whatever you need to do. It's just a really, really good card in general. You can use the effects either like whenever timing is necessary, but because it's one of those things you can just summon over top of this and then immediately pay out the standby when it gets triggered, this makes it that utility makes it very good. So you could even go up to 4 copies if you wanted, but I just went with 3. 3 copies of Frieren and Stark is a 0/02K. When this is placed on the stage from hand, choose one of your characters. It gets the following ability until end of turn. This ability is actually really fun for a standby deck. You give a character the ability, during this card's attack, perform trigger check 2 times. If you performed 2 times, put the top card of your stock into your waiting room. So you only end up generating 1 stock, but you get to twin drive, which is what people call when you trigger check twice. They refer to it as twin drive. I'm not trying to stutter as much. So you have chances to hit standbys more with this, which is really cool. Because you can give it to anything. If you want to give it to some of your bigger beat sticks, you can, and then still have chances of triggering standby and whatnot. And then it has an act ability. Look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Choose, the act is pay 1, sack itself. Then do this. Look at up to 4 from the top of your deck. Choose an adventure or magic character from among them. Add it to your hand. Put the rest into your waiting room. Once again, able to basically just play this, give someone else the effect, and then just sack itself off so it's like not taking up any space. You be able to have open slots for your standbys to hit the field and everything. So all good. And also you're also milling with the effect to try to get more targets into the waiting room to get stuff going. But then we have 2 copies of Social Gathering Frieren. On play, reveal the top card of your deck if it is an event or character, basically. Add it to your hand and then discard 1 card. So you, as long as you don't reveal a climax, you can basically add that card to hand. And because it works with any event, obviously Birthday Present is still very viable for this effect. When a climax gets placed into your climax area, you can bounce her back to hand. If you do choose one of your characters, it gets 1,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So you can use this to make some people fairly big. Then we have 4 copies of Azen's Apprentice. Stark is a 0/01K. If it has a marker, it gets +1 level and 2,500 power. On play, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is an event or adventure magic character, you can put that face down underneath this card as a marker. So it basically becomes a level 1 3,500 beat stick. So you're able to get over bombs. You're able to just get over most anything at level 0. And Stark just goes monkey mode on them. So then we have 2 copies of Mage Frieren. This is the only other card in the deck that had a little bit of price to it, but I think that was mainly when the set first dropped. It's the Climax Swapper from the trial deck. It was about $1. So, and when I say that's the only other expensive card in the deck, that's actually kind of crazy. It is a level 0 or lower bottom deck reverser, but it is the Climax Swapper. So on play, pay 1 pitch a Climax to salvage back a Climax. Typically, if you absolutely need to get your level 3 set up and you want to be able to use the great performance ability multiple times, it's kind of a necessity to have. And then lastly is the event, the Birthday Present event. We have 4 copies of. It's a 1/1 red event. It's very simple for the effects, but it's just also very useful, like I said, to be able to use with the level 3 Frieren to do some extra burn damage. But this also just sets you up for your utility level 0s and everything. It's just a good card. Put the top 2 cards of your deck into the waiting room. Choose up to 1 level X or lower adventure magic character. Return it to your hand. From waiting room, add it to hand. Sorry. X is equal to the level of the cards you milled by this effect. Then it goes to your memory. So while it's in your memory, when you level up, you can discard any card from your hand. And if you do, return this card to your hand. So it can just chill in there like very early. If you're able to get it in there very early on. And then later on, look, I'm hitting level 3. I'm just going to pay the cost and get these back to hand and whatnot. So then you can use them to burn with the Frieren. And yeah, that's going to be it for the deck. Like I said, 4 copies of Privilege of the Young for the level 3 and 4 copies of Master's Teachings for the level 2. Like I said, we love to make budget decks here on base damage. It's just really fun to be able to put this deck together and just go complete and total monkey mode. And it's just really fun. I also really like abusing anything that can use great performance. It's just really funny to watch your opponent have to beat their head against a wall. And for this one in particular, that, like I said, the price point was very good. I was able to get multiple copies of every card in the deck So I basically bought anywhere from 2 to 4 copies, like, 2 copies of the backups and whatnot. And 4 copies of almost everything else except the Climax Swapper. For about $13. I want to say no, it was closer to $15. I'm so sorry, I misspoke. But anyway, future me will show the amount on screen right now. I was able to get basically the entire deck plus a ton of extras for very, very cheap. But I did have to purchase the Clumsy Birthday Starks on a different order. And like I said, I was able to get them for about $2 a piece when they finally dropped in price. So add another $8 to whatever I just showed you on screen. And it should be under $25 total for this entire deck. And like I said, you just get to have fun little budget deck just to beat people in the face. If we ever get another Frieren set, would be really cool to maybe be able to upgrade this in the future. But that is going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. Feel free to join the Discord if you want. A link for that will be in the description. And keep on slapping things with a giant axe. We'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace out for now.